Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Diecast Iron Man figure unboxing and retro review. That's right, today we're taking a look finally at the Mark 43 from Age of Ultron. Now I don't know why I never reviewed the original or the reissue, but we're here right now. And yeah, I'm really excited to get him out here. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon, plus the join button for more info on Justin's Collection plus the channel membership. As for the box art, even though this is the 2019 reissue, it's still using the same style of packaging from the 1.0. Up front, an image of the 43, Avengers Age of Ultron with the massive A logo, then Iron Man Mark 43 down below. On the side of the box, Iron Man Mark 43, the A continues around the back with the cast and crew responsible and all of the warnings down below. Now this isn't necessarily the most easy packaging to unbox on camera, so with the top and bottom slid off, we now reveal the foam block on the inside that says Mark 43. Then of course, the figure himself. Now this for me is a bit of a special one, because back in the day when I was just starting collecting, this was my first diecast figure, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. First in-hand re-impressions is that, yeah, he's still really good. What we are going to do now, though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all the parts and pieces. Starting off with the diorama display base first, this thing is huge. It's relatively hefty, it's got a really large footprint, because the first time we saw this was with the quarter-scale Dark Knight Batman figure. Up front, an etched metal nameplate that says Avengers Age of Ultron Mark 43. Then up top, there's a ton of texture and the paint applications are stunning. There are darker sections, there's some dry brushing of lighter sections on the rocks, plus washers in the crevices. And then we do have a metal rod plus a spring-loaded waist clamp. Do be careful though, the Mark 43 is rather heavy and this thing does tend to slide down over time. By far the coolest accessory here though is the Mark 1 Ultron. Or I should say, a part of him. You do have a bunch of rubbery cables and some articulation for the arm and the head. Plus, you can remove those pieces if you want to break him down even further. I do like the chipping and scratching and dirt and grime, plus how metallic he is. Now, I'm pretty sure this guy is just meant to sit on the display base, but of course, you can place him or use him however you choose. You do get two different options for the Iron Man helmet. One with the fully closed faceplate and the LED light-up eyes, and the other with a Tony Stark head sculpt. Now you can remove the faceplate, there's some detail inside, and you can fully close it with magnets. But for me, I like to just sit it on top of the helmet. They're both painted in the same way, they look really good, but this one is just my preferred option. I love that Tony Stark head sculpt, it's 100% Robert Downey Jr., and because this is the 2019 reissue, the paint applications are slightly improved over the original. When it comes to weaponry, this guy doesn't really come with a ton. He does come with this wrist-mounted rocket, and it does just sandwich onto his forearm. You will see that a little bit later. It's painted in the same way as the helmet, meaning a suitably glossy metallic red, plus a bunch of pitting and chipping around the edges. Lastly, you do get the full array of Iron Man hands, including closed fists, repulsor blasting, and fully articulated. Every single hand except the closed fists does have the translucent repulsor section, so when you have the LEDs in the forearms turned on, light can pass through. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that, this guy looks really good. He takes all of the best stuff about the 42 with the proportions and the bulk and the diecast content and the detail, but just switches out that color scheme for something a lot more traditional. which I know was the biggest bugbear for a lot of people. They didn't love the gold on the 42. I did, but I really like this too. I'm having a tough time picking which is my favourite, but this guy definitely screams Iron Man. The red is super glossy, it's metallic, there's chipping and pitting everywhere. As I said earlier, this was technically my first ever diecast figure, and yeah, I think I started off with one of the best ever. Here we have him up close and personal, and being an older suit of armor, he is a little bit more clunky. But not necessarily in a bad way, I still really like this design. Now, starting off with the helmet, the panel lines are sharp, I like the choice of gold, plus there is some subtle weathering on the surface. You've got some chipping and some gradient work, plus a ton more silver dry brushing around the edges for the red sections. Now, if you are wondering what he looks like wearing the non-light up helmet with the Tony Stark head sculpt in it, with this head sculpt, you also have a couple of options. You can leave the faceplate up top, exposing just a little of his head sculpt. You can close it all the way, so you can just have the closed helmet. Also a really good look if you want to have the option of every now and then taking this off. Or you can remove it entirely, showing off this Tony Stark head sculpt. And on the body, yeah, this with the faceplate up on top is absolutely how I'm going to display my version in the collection. The LED for the arc reactor is number 1 super bright, but that doesn't mean number 2 you can't see any detail, it's still fully visible. Now, around the back, speaking of being fully visible, that's exactly how I describe the battery compartment screw and the switch. Now, the same thing can be said for the switches on the biceps, they are also fully visible. This is just an older suit, you can't really do anything about it. You also have some fully articulated flaps with some detail underneath, it's nicely sculpted and painted. The same thing can be said for the detail underneath the chest plate, all fully sculpted, and quite well painted for pieces as small as those detail pieces are. Now, the paint applications for the rest of the suit are stunning. The red is nice and metallic, it's a deep, rich, hot rod red. The panel lines are fully panel lined, you've got some black chipping, some silver dry brushing, and also some brown weathering on the gold sections. Plus, that shading and gradient work. It really does make this guy look super realistic, even for an older figure. Now, up here at the shoulders, yes, he is starting to show some signs of age because of the gapping. Now, that's something that Hot Toys have worked really hard to resolve with modern day figures. But as you can see, even if you push the arms all the way up and situate the shoulder pads, yeah, that gap is unfortunately still visible. Now, if you are wondering what he looks like with the wrist-mounted rocket in place, the wrist rocket does look like it's popped out of the gauntlet, but of course it hasn't. This piece just snaps onto the top of the underlying endoskeleton. It's held in place with magnets, the doors look like they've sprung open, and then you can make out the little silver rocket. It's a neat effect, and yeah, I'm pretty darn tempted to display him using this in the collection. Coming down to the abdomen, you've got a bunch of different tech detail sections with the silver, the gold, the red, and the black panel lining. Once again, some more silver chipping all the way down to his legs. Now, if you remember with the Mark 42, this is the exact same mold, but this time there's significantly less gold. Yes, that rhymed on purpose, I'm so sorry. The red is once again a really nice deep rich red, and even though I've said it a bunch, I'm going to say it one more time. Silver dry brushing, there is a ton of it. On the underside of his boots, there is some tread, fully sculpted in, plus of course all the copyright info. For a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the Mark 42 alongside the Mark 43. And what a difference a colour swap can make to an already existing mould. They're the same height, but with the colours reversed. I honestly can't pick my favourite here. I really like the gold of the 42, it's unique, it stands out, it's something different. but the 43 is just a really well put together suit. It's got all of the same panel lining and mold details, but it's got all of the additional battle damage and detail work on the surface. And it now has a more traditional colour scheme, which I know a lot of people really do like. I also really like it, but as I said, I can't pick my favourites. Do weigh in down below. Which of these two do you prefer? Just going over articulation. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm gonna be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I am willing to go. Now, starting off with the head sculpt, it's on a ball joint at the base of the helmet, another at the base of the neck, but also a hinge going forward and back. Swivel and pivot side to side. Now the arms can be extended out for a maximum range of motion going up. Going forward, a butterfly joint at the shoulder that also hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow that gets you just past 90. And a ball joint for the wrist peg. The torso can be extended out at two separate joints, crunching forward to there, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. Now the legs will go forward to there, unless you move these panels out of the way, then they will go up slightly further. They will go out to there. Now if you push this button around the back, it drops the legs down and extends your range of motion even further to there, and of course to there. Swivel at the upper thigh, ratcheted double bend at the knee that gets you, once again, just past 90, a hinge and swivel down here for the ankle, plus toe articulation. Just wrapping up on the Mark 43 from Avengers Age of Ultron by Hot Toys. Now going into this, I knew what to expect. I've reviewed the Mark 42, I've owned this guy for quite a while, although my old one is sitting inside my Hulkbuster. He was my first ever die-cast Iron Man figure. And to this day, I still love this release. It's not perfect, but at the same time, it's not necessarily plagued with issues either. One of the biggest complaints from people is that he doesn't come with a lot of stuff. The display base with the little Ultron sentry is pretty darn cool, but it doesn't really make up for the lack of missile pods and blast effects and all of the stuff that we see nowadays. Back in the day, people were pretty darn happy, but if you're looking at picking this guy up today, just be forewarned, he doesn't come with as much stuff as modern day Iron Man figures. In saying that though, he still checks a lot of boxes in terms of the figure himself. The paint applications are stunning. The red is metallic, it's rich, it's glossy, and there is a ton of detail work on the surface. There's this gradient shading effect, there's peating and chipping and scratching. Long story short, he's a showstopper. The articulation isn't flawless by today's standards, but it's still really good. You can pull off a ground pound pose if you want to, and he comes with the diorama display base. It's a really nice centerpiece for your Age of Ultron collection. Now, as I said in the intro, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button for more info on Justin's Collection Plus if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.